1.
Oh my gosh, that was so epic.
I think that's it. There he is. You guys ready? Let's pull it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Hey! And JB's on there! 600! 600! Yes! Yay! 600 mile time. That would be just. So here we are, back with the real supercharger. Okay, we are on the test track.
So I'd recommend putting your head on the headrest.
Okay.
There he's ready. Nope.
Yep. Oh, there it goes. Oh, that never gets old either. We have the post-study production cars here.
Wait, what?
Yeah, oh yeah, you watch it.
Well, why is he gonna throw it?
I don't know, but we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Just use a sledgehammer. What?
Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
I'm Eric, otherwise known as Derek, here in Shanghai at Gigafactory 3.
Ballapalooza. It's like tricks.
3, 2, 1.
Will it wipe is the big question of the day.
Will it wipe?
Generic cornflakes.
Whoa! It's raining cornflakes!
Oh. This is trippy. Look, there's nothing here.
Hello once again. Today is what, Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, and we are here for the Tesla third quarter earnings call.
Yes.
And I'm David, this is Eric, together we are Derek, and we usually go over whatever is new in the world of Tesla. This week, we're going to talk about the earnings call.
Yep. And real quick, I just had to do that.
Already.
Okay, so welcome everybody. It has been a day. We are here. Earnings call. Woo woo. It should be fun. Now, currently, what did we close at? 865.
The stock
Quite the jump
The
this
stock's
week.
been going up really well for the past week. It's gone up, I think, over 50-something bucks in the past week. So
Yeah.
definitely some anticipation.
I think more than that.
Yeah, for this call. So it's definitely looking good for those who own Tesla shares. But
Yeah.
so Tesla did have their annual shareholders call last week, and they gave us a lot of numbers, so I don't really know what new information we're going to have this week. And we've looked at some of the materials that they provided, and some of them look the same. We already knew that they produced just shy of 10,000 new Model S's, the refresh ones that they started this year, and they had like over about 232,000 deliveries in the last quarter, and I guess just shy of 9,000 deliveries for the Model S. And we do know, big news, they have started delivery of the refreshed Model X, and that's something that at least 6 of them have been delivered so far. And we saw like 5 of them were delivered last week, and I think one of them was delivered yesterday. And there might be more. These are just ones that we've seen pictures of and stuff. So definitely they're producing them, but they haven't ramped up so far on Model X production yet. We're still looking. We still have our reservation for our new Model X.
Check it 20, 30, maybe even 50 times a day sometimes.
Yeah, and basically that's the one we put the order in for December of last year, and we've had a couple delivery dates, estimated delivery dates over the past 10 months. But right now we still don't have a date, so we're still hoping for December or November. But we do still also have an order in for a long-range Model S to go with our Plaid S, which is in the car.
Audio's
Garage,
peaking.
sorry.
Do you know how to fix that?
Yeah, just slide those down. Okay. So anyways, we are waiting for that. As you might have seen, Eric got his wheel issue resolved with his Plaid S. And luckily today, was the first day that you actually drove with the new 19-inch and new all-season wheels.
I hate it. I hate it.
Why is that?
Because the rims suck. They look awful.
Yeah, so basically he got the stock
rims, the stock 19 with the cover. I like stuff that says like, it's like open and like it really shows off everything.
They're not as nice as the Arachnids.
No.
I'll say that. But
well,
at least
I just like the
the other
Martian,
the
because
Martian
they're nice and open. I think they look.
Were the MX5?
MW05. I just think they like look.
Those look really nice.
As fast as the car can perform. Whereas the 19s, I don't feel like I can drive fast anymore because it doesn't look like I can drive fast.
The good thing is you got all-season tires, and that's definitely something, because today it was below freezing when you went to work this morning, and you're not supposed to be driving those summer tires when it's cold like that out.
Also, in chat, we have our mods, Diego, we have our mod, Chris, and we have newest mod to the channel, Roger.
Roger's now a mod. Oh.
Roger's now a mod. Amy, I don't know if you want to be a mod, but if you want to, let me know.
Well, she said, I think she's working, so...
Oh, yeah, if you're working. Real quick, though, John, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that. We're just going to do confetti today. We're not going to do money gun or anything. Sorry. It's just going to be the way it works out today. Thank you so much, John, for the $5. He said it was brought up, how did these people get 100% on their score? They must be living in the country. I'm still at 98. Did you get the FSD beta? I'm at 99. I think my lowest was what, 96?
Something like that, but unfortunately your overall score is still at 99.
I'm having to drive and just like literally I'm driving so carefully. I didn't want to say grandma because I don't want to offend anyone.
Plus some grandmas, or my mom, she...
Yeah, she'll whip that Model 3. And like I was talking to Bonnie on Twitter, and like Bonnie knows how to rip around a Roadster. So like, yeah. But I am at 99.
But why do you bring up Bonnie when we're talking about grandmas?
Because Bonnie is a grandma.
I know.
And she yelled at me for that.
Oh, okay.
She yelled at me on Twitter.
I see what you're saying.
This is public knowledge.
That some grandmas still drive like that. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, my mom drives like that too. Who is also a grandma.
Touche. But anyway, like it's kind of been boring driving the Plaid a little bit. But hopefully we can get a track day, and I feel comfortable knowing that I can go to a track day
and swap the wheels on and off.
And hopefully avoid getting a ding on my score. That being said,
that's the problem. Yeah, you can't.
We can't tell. Don't bring that up. How to do that?
Yeah, there is a way, but we won't talk about it. But anyways,
cancel.
But anyways,
Tesla will be upset if we disclose that.
Still no full self-driving beta, but if they do release one this Saturday and they're giving it to 99s, like he said, then we should have it then. The cool thing is we've heard that a lot of people have actually attained 100 over the past few days, and it seems that Tesla is actually adding the full self-driving to those owners as they attain it. Like some guy said he got it.
How cool is this? I can talk in the other room and everyone can hear me.
He got it within a couple hours. He got an email and he got notification that the software was going to be coming. And then one of our friends, Mace said he just got it, and he's like on a road trip.
Yeah, he's
right?
on a road trip.
And he maintained his 100, and he got that full self-driving beta as well. So we're looking forward. We got to see it. Our friends Roger and Amy were here over the weekend, and they have it, and we got to check it out.
And it looks really cool.
Or actually, you got to check it out. But,
it looks really nice. I can't wait to check it out ourselves. Diego said 2 damaged wheels in the garbage now. I'm actually going to sell those because there's places that will fix them. I don't know why my background keeps going blank.
Well, we have...
There are places that can fix bent rims, and so someone might be interested in, I'm just going to sell them super cheap. Someone might be interested in buying those and having them fixed, and then they might be comfortable using them. I'm not. Worst case, if nobody wants them for that, we might make a table out of it. Worst case, it'll be metal recycled.
Yeah, definitely going to get recycled because. And also, so we do still have another 2 that are going to be available sale. So if there's somebody that does need to buy an individual like spare tire, they want an arachnid.
Neil got his score from 99 to 100, got beta 5 hours later.
Nice, yeah. See, so it is possible.
I just don't have time to drive the 900 miles at 100.
Yeah, there's several people have come out with spreadsheets that show how to calculate your weighted score. It was Chris. Yeah, I remember Chris was actually helping you with that like a week ago. But yeah, it was going to be like 1,000 miles or something in order for, or 500, something 900. Like that. And so it's and that's hoping that you drive there and nothing happens. Because can you imagine putting in 800 and something miles? And
well, see, I just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Road trips right now are not going to happen. I'm just too busy right now. But it's just like so much going on. Can't wait for Model X though. Seeing all the Model X's, all is in 5 delivered.
I think 6 now.
We're up to 6.
Yeah.
Seeing those delivered gets me really excited because I really want mine badly. I have a lot of cool things that we've kind of come up to do to it, and I think it's going to be really cool. Real quick though, I know before some people ask, we still have, what time is it? We still have like 15 minutes before
so tell them what we're going to do. Kind of like last
real
week,
quick,
right?
I want to show you the dog cam.
Yes, they are here. Oh, no.
Kid's trying to figure out how he can sit.
Yeah, there he goes.
And we have
Success.
Cuddles.
Yes.
We have landed. Oh. Okay. Anywho, they're right behind us actually. So the way we normally do these calls, and we will do it very similar to something like this. We will be down here, and the call will be up there. And when it does start though, we will mute ourselves. So you will hear all the call. We will adjust the volume as best we can. Tesla calls are notorious for being very, very quiet. So we end up turning ours up all the way. If for some reason it is still quiet for you, try turning your volume up and that should fix it. We've played around with it on a couple live streams and that worked. But we will be in chat. So if you have anything you want to say, drop it in chat during the call and we will be talking about what we're hearing live and kind of just like David's chatting right now, kind of just like live reactions down there because we don't want to talk over whoever is talking and presenting. We want to be able to listen to them and really hear everything. Wow, okay, I'm falling behind on super chats already. Pierre, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Said, I'm winging off. We don't need to worry about the money gun today. It's too much. I'm winging off denim jeans in preparation for my Model S.
So
weaning.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he did. He made a voice to speech. Delivery 10:22 to 11:05. No VIN yet. Our VIN's assigned during vehicle transit. So oftentimes, for what I've heard with Model S's, they've been assigned like when people are getting them in production, so that they know exactly where they're going. But it could also be maybe in transit. Hopefully you see it soon. I've heard of some people though getting it assigned and then like being called the next day. So
one thing we noticed too is you can always check on the Tesla app, but we noticed that on the website.
Don't show that.
But now on the Tesla app, they do have it so that you can see your estimated delivery date.
I don't want to show the top part.
Or VIN. Once
ETA.
So you can see that's for our S long range. That it does show the dates, and that's if you have like the app version 4.2 or newer.
Exactly. But yes, super excited, Pierre. And then we have another killer super chat from Dan. He is back on. Miss you a few weeks, Dan, but glad to hear you are doing well.
I think we saw him last time, but
got the call yesterday from Tesla for my Model X long range. They asked me if I wanted to switch from 7 to 6.
Call.
And that would change my date from January to before the end of the year. The car is finally in the app. Yay, it's real.
Nice.
So did you change, Dan, to 6?
Because
we had a 6. So
all along.
we've had a 6 all along. I ordered the car in 2019.
No, 2020. 2020.
Was it 2020?
Yeah, it was December 2020. We did have a 2019.
Oh, right, sorry.
We had a different Model X in
I'm
2019.
thinking,
Yeah, but
long ago.
We ordered another one at the end of
Anywho.
2020.
In December, I ordered my 6-seater, and as of right now, we have no estimated delivery date in the app or on the website, nothing. So that's a little concerning, because I would like my car, obviously. Dan said he did change it to 6.
Okay,
Sweet.
yeah,
So hopefully, yeah.
Maybe we'll be up there on delivery day, and that'd be cool if we could have
Can you
both of them
bump
delivered
both
at the
3
same
and 4 up just a tad? Perfect. Okay, we're gonna try that.
But,
thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, I know. So anyways, a lot of people who have 5 or 7-seaters, Tesla's been reaching out for the past week saying, hey, do you want to upgrade to 6-seaters? Because that's what we're building for the rest of this quarter. And they're not giving any discounts or anything. And so for those of you who had a 7-seater, it's a $3,500. It's a $3,500 price increase. If you only had a 5-seater, then I think it's a $6,500 price increase. But basically, that's just the way I think they're focusing on doing the 6-seaters. Maybe they haven't redesigned that middle row for the 5 and 7-seater to have that fold down armrest, because we know that Tesla did announce, or in their webpage and even in the owner's manual for the Model X, which just came out this week, they said that there would be wireless charging available for all passengers, but it looks like that's still not the case with the 6-seater. So maybe it will be possible with the 5 and 7-seater if they have the armrest that folds down like in the Model S.
Yep. And 6-seater, the middle seats do not fold down. They just kind of fold forward. Real quick though.
The live stream ready too?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get that. But real quick, I kind of want to go over the update deck from Tesla. So this is their deck here, and kind of goes over everything. The big highlights, I want to run through that before the call. Operating cash flow less capex, 1.3 billion in Q3. Debt and finance lease repayments, 1.5 billion. In total, 164 million decrease in our cash and cash equivalents, but they still have 16.1 billion in cash and cash equivalents. Wow. That's a big number right there. Profitability, 2 billion GAAP operating income. So that's just under 15% operating margin. Pretty nice. Yada, yada, yada. Lots of numbers. Boom. Operations. Record vehicle production delivers in Q3, especially considering all these other car manufacturers are completely stopped and not really delivering anything. What?
You can put us.
Oh, you want us there? Okay. Oh, but then we block out words. Anyway, started to roll out FSD City Streets beta to wider population in October, minus us. I don't know. This is kind of just a lot here. We'll kind of go into that. It did talk about a variety of challenges, including the semiconductor shortages, which we already were familiar with, congestion at all ports, already familiar with, and rolling blackouts, have been impacting the ability to keep factories running at full speed. But their work with supply chain, engineering, and production teams that have been dealing with these global challenges have been dealing with ingenuity, agility, and flexibility, and have been kicking ass.
Yeah, as we heard on the call last week, Elon said they were doing a lot of flying parts. Yeah. Which can't be cheap, but I mean that way you don't have to wait months for them to arrive.
Yep. The financial stuff, if you really want to look into the numbers, pause it. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of this is we're gonna kind of, we'll probably hear more during the call on that. I want to get towards normally the bottom here. U.S. and Texas. Our Fremont factory produced 430,000 vehicles in the last 4 quarters, and this last quarter they produced
it was almost
237,000
total.
And so the last 4 quarters combined were 430. So they're more than halfway there with just 1 quarter.
Yeah.
So this could be, it's a long stretch, but this could be the first million year, maybe. It's going to have to be a lot in Q4, but you never know.
What's weird is those numbers don't seem to add up, because if you add up the last 4 quarters, that's way over 430,000. So
that's total. That's not just U.S.
Oh, okay. I thought it just said Fremont down there, though.
For this, though, Fremont. So these numbers
Okay,
right here are
they don't have it broken up.
company-wide.
Okay.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
have it. So then that's not just Fremont, the 237. That's
Right.
okay.
That was total. Let's see. Model S production continue to ramp up. Model X production to
First
ramp
deliveries.
up. Yeah, so that's why they delivered those 5 vehicles, because they wanted to be able to say first deliveries have started. They're technically not wrong. Shanghai, main export hub, which is great to see. Production ramp well. The amount of cars coming out of Shanghai is just ridiculous. They're shifting to LFP batteries globally. So there's that. We have Berlin, still remains on track with testing of equipment well underway. Final permit approval before the end of the year.
It's weird that it takes so long just to get a permit, though.
I know.
I mean, there's probably more than one permit, but they did have their like grand opening or their open house kind of thing a couple weeks back in Germany. That was cool to see.
Definitely.
All the stuff they have going on there.
Yep. Let's see. So they have Autopilot and FSD in Q3. They hosted AI Day, a recruiting event to attract the best AI talent. Let's see. They expanded the FSD beta. We kind of already hit on that a little bit. New refreshed mobile app. Oh yeah, I guess I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. It's hit or miss, though.
Yeah.
I mean, some things look slicker, but I think the graphs, especially for energy production, are a step in the wrong direction because you can't see the data that you used to be able to see.
Yep. The big news here, 4680 in-house cell project continues to progress, producing an increased number of battery packs for testing purposes, and so far testing results meet our current expectations. Too bad they didn't say exceed, but it's okay. We'll take meat. Front and rear body castings, both needed for structural battery pack architecture, are being produced at Giga Texas. So they're currently working on that. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more. That would be nice. Energy storage increased by 71% year over year in Q3. That's pretty nuts. Solar deployments were 83 megawatts in Q3, which is a 46% year over year increase. Another great milestone, I think, for the solar and energy solutions. In Q3, we rolled out safety score functionality. Yeah, we kind of already talked about that.
It's still, I think that's, again, it's the beta. They definitely are going to make some changes to that.
Yeah. And this is kind of just the outlook, which is always going to be like, we expect operating margin to continue to grow and we have sufficient liquidity. It tends to be like kind of the same thing because obviously, yeah, you would expect it to continue to grow, hopefully. And then the great thing, photos. So this is the county fair that they held at Berlin. That would have been really fun to go to, but props to anyone who got to go. Was super jealous. So this is Giga Texas. You can already see everything's starting to be outfitted, and we kind of saw like this is a similar backdrop. Maybe the meeting was held like right here for the annual shareholder meeting, because this looks exactly like what we saw as the backdrop. Giga Texas Model Y quality control, so they already got stuff rolling in Texas. This is the exterior. This building's gone up ridiculously fast, which is very impressive as usual. I just don't even know what to say about Shanghai. When we went, it was this little itty bitty building way back here, and now it is this monstrosity.
It was still huge back then, but now it's just amazing how much they've built.
Now it's on a whole nother level. Their GigaPress in Shanghai. I just can't believe how big Shanghai has grown, and I really want to go check that out as soon as I can. Sorry, I was looking at the time. Let's see, and then they have quarterly metrics. These are kind of fun. You can obviously see we are in a great position. Free cash flow, though, free cash flow and operating. You can see those kind of over here. Some not so great quarters. Trailing 12 months, financial statements. These are a lot of numbers. If you want to, go check it out. And then just additional information. But that's kind of the gist of it. Kind of wanted to run through that before we get to the meeting.
And it did say they expect to do Model Y production in both Austin and Berlin before the end of the year. So
yes.
It's good to see they'll start churning those out. And then It did say Cybertruck is still delayed, until next year. But I'm hoping we'll get some semi-news today, because we had heard that they were supposed to have it by the end of the year, and also recently there were some pictures shown from the Gigafactory in the Reno area that showed mega chargers, which is what they would use to charge semis at. So I would expect to see some semis coming soon.
Yeah, that would be great if we heard some semi-news. Abstract Ocean is in the chat. For those of you that don't know, that is our channel sponsor. Ta-da. Let's see, they said, all right, we're here now, the party can start. What did we miss? We're still holding our 99 score. Luckily, have a performance 3D without FSD if we want to go somewhere quickly. That is a great call.
So you have to use the other car.
You use the one with FSD sparingly so that you can have some fun in the other one.
Check and see if we're still at 99 here on the Plaid.
I would hope I'm still at 99. I've been driving it very, very
still
carefully.
Still at 99.
Lately.
And then the S, I believe, the long range, the S100D, we don't have the long range one yet. I believe it's at 96 because...
That one I am not driving.
Yeah, it wasn't, that was another driver. It wasn't me either, but 96. Oh.
Yikes.
No, that's not too bad. But I mean, we've heard some people have scores of like 37, and they got the beta. But hopefully we'll be able to get it when we have...
True.
If we can maintain that 99.
So, yeah. But otherwise, it should be starting hopefully soon, because we are T-minus 1 minute.
And some people were chatting, do you think Elon's going to be on? Because he said he wasn't going to do these anymore. So if he's
My guess is going to be no.
So if he's not going to be on, maybe it'll start
on time
at 3:30.
We love you, Elon, but seriously.
He's a busy man. He's very busy.
Chris said, how soon are you going to make FSD beta videos?
Well, probably as soon as we get it. Yeah.
As soon as we get it, we'll make like an initial first impression. I don't know how many FSD beta videos we'll really be making in the grand scheme of it, because there's so many out there. I don't want to I don't know.
We should do some.
We'll do some, but I don't think that we're going to do a ton. Robert said, arrived late. Any update on the Model X? Our orders are being delivered. Yes, only at Fremont right now.
Yeah, somebody had somebody saw some internal communication that said they're starting them in the Bay Area in California, and then they'll be expanding them out to the rest of the United States in the coming weeks. So hopefully, sometime in November, we'll actually be getting ours here in Colorado.
Yeah.
Or December.
I'm just putting this in because this is how we're gonna listen to the Q3 call. And as soon as they start, we will, like I said, switch over to that, but we are just waiting for them, I guess.
So they did.
And this music is probably copywritten, so I don't want to get dinged.
But they have started those Model X deliveries. We know they delivered 5 of them on Saturday afternoon there at the factory delivery area in Fremont, and then it looks like at least one other one has been delivered since there. There could be more that we don't know about, but they've delivered at least 6 Model X's.
So kind of like what some people are talking about is are we planning on getting FSD beta on Friday or Saturday? As of now, maybe. It really depends if Tesla decides to roll it out to the 99 number.
Like they said, because originally...
I can see it being a couple more weeks.
Originally, they said it was going to be 100s the first day, 99s next day, 98s after that. Then they said, oh no, we're going to do 99s a week later. Then they said, okay, it's really going to be 2 weeks later. And so that would be this Saturday. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get it this Saturday. But it is nice though, they are still rolling out to people with 100s. So maybe if we do finally cross that 99.5 or whatever gets rounded up to 100, maybe we'll see it. But right now, we're still hanging there at 99. We've had 99 almost since the beginning.
It would be nice if they would, because I would love to have it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they say it's gonna slip a little while longer.
Yeah, so we're not really holding our breath, but if we get it, we'll be happy.
Yeah. I am super excited though, Robert, for the X, yes. That makes me very, very excited, because I don't know. I just everything we've been talking about lately with the Model X makes me more and more excited, especially what we're gonna do to it and everything.
Right. Oh, and there we are. We're starting.
Here's the call. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tesla's third quarter 2021 Q&A webcast. My name is Martin Vieja, Senior Director of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by our CFO, Zachary Kirkhorn, and our Senior VP, Drew Baglino, as well as other executives. Our Q3 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. During the question and answers portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. But before we jump into the Q&A, Zach has some opening remarks. Zach?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. We're continuing to make great progress as a company, setting new records on each of the most important financial metrics for Q3. Overall, we delivered just over 240,000 cars, 20% higher than last quarter and 70% higher than the same quarter last year. We were also able to achieve an annualized production run rate of over 1 million cars towards the end of the quarter. The increase in production rate has primarily been driven by further ramping of the Model Y at our Shanghai factory. Additionally, we have made great progress increasing production volumes of Model S and have recently started the ramp and deliveries of Model X. It will take a bit more time to get this program back to prior volumes, but based on demand, we are targeting to exceed historical production levels. We have also completed the transition of our Shanghai factory as our main export hub. This has enabled us to supply more vehicles to the North America market and to introduce Model Y to Europe. Due to part shortages and logistics variability, we have not been able to run our factories at full capacity. It's important to note that while we have roughly doubled deliveries year to date, this has been exceptionally difficult to achieve. I want to thank our supply chain team for their incredible work and our production teams for showing impressive flexibility as we make adjustments real time. This team's expertise in the chip industry across all tiers has made a huge difference when managing through these challenges. Additionally, we never reduced our production forecast with our suppliers as we're adding capacity as quickly as possible. I also want to thank our suppliers for their dedication and partnership to Tesla. Despite these increases in production and generally higher prices, our backlogs are continuing to grow and average customer wait times are extending. The only practical way to address this in the immediate term is to do everything we can to build more cars on our existing production lines, which is where we are focused. Similar dynamics are also playing out in our storage business as we are working to expand Powerwall and Megapack production as quickly as parts and cells allow us to do so. Additionally, we have made good progress on the in-house battery manufacturing program, and we're excited to have expanded the full self-driving beta program to more customers. Financially, our auto gross margins reached 30.5% on a GAAP basis and just under 29% excluding regulatory credits, which is our strongest yet. This benefit primarily comes from higher volumes, particularly out of the Shanghai factory, increased mix of the Model Y, and we have made good progress increasing Model S volumes. The Model S has now returned to positive gross margin, and we expect this to increase with higher production and the ramp of Model X. As was the case in Q2, there was some net benefit from pricing actions. However, this remains small in the context of other contributors. Please keep in mind that given backlog, it will take time for the impact of recent changes to flow through our financials. Note that we are also not yet recognizing additional revenue from the FSD beta program. Supply chain challenges, including expedites, continue to provide cost headwinds, as was also the case with FX this quarter. While we are seeing an impact from the rise in commodity and labor costs, we have also been adjusting pricing, which should help to compensate. Overall, as I mentioned in our last call, our P&L continues to benefit from the marginal profitability of each incremental unit with higher fixed cost absorption. As a result of the great progress on margins, volume, and appropriate management of overhead costs, we were able to achieve an operating margin of just under 15%, exceeding the long-term guidance we've laid out previously. On cash, we generated record operating cash flows of $3.1 billion and continue to invest heavily in the build-out of manufacturing, supercharging, and service capacity. We also continue to retire high-interest rate debt, including the early settlement of our 2025 senior notes of $1.8 billion during the quarter. As we look forward, we are clearly quite a bit ahead of the pacing required to achieve our target annual growth rate of 50% this year. Q4 production will depend heavily on availability of parts, but we are driving for continued growth. We are also nearing assembly of our first production cars in Austin and Berlin. It's important to stress, while the first production car is an important milestone, the hardest work lies ahead in the ramp. Please keep in mind that we are pushing the boundaries on new product and manufacturing technologies at these factories, which makes it difficult to predict the exact pace of the ramp. These factories will also partially weigh on our margins as we work towards volume production. Overall, I'm very proud of what the team has accomplished, and I'm excited for our next phase of growth into Q4 and into 2022. The team has done a tremendous job improving our financial health in a short period of time, while also continuing to improve our precision and pace of execution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will now take questions from institutional and retail shareholders that we posted on our website. The first question is, when should we expect the first vehicles to be delivered with 4680 cells?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Early next year, from a non-cell perspective, structural battery crash, range, and reliability testing are on track to be complete this quarter. Testing to date has gone well, and the Fremont manufacturing line is on track to support. However, similar to what Zach said before, this is a new architecture and unknown unknowns may exist still. Our top priority is ensuring quality in what we deliver. And from a cell perspective, we are comfortable with the design maturity and manufacturing readiness matching the pack timeline I just mentioned.
Thank you very much. The second question from institutional investor comes, do you still expect to start production of the $25,000 model in 2023? What are the biggest hurdles from now until then?
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, we're working on a strategy to increase our production rates as quickly as possible. I think Zach spoke to that well. And we're doing this while trying to add the least amount of incremental complexity to the business. We don't want to add any new vehicles to our lineup when we're generally in a cell-constrained world, while there is still more runway to grow these existing products. We are focused on Model Y expansion in Austin, Berlin, ramping S and X further in Fremont to restore to past levels, while also growing 3 and Y production in Fremont and Shanghai. As we've mentioned before, after Model Y in Austin, our next product launch will be Cybertruck, and that timing, of course, depends on increasing cell capacity both from our suppliers and through our in-house cell, as well as many other headwinds we face in the supply chain, and completing our currently full plate of products on the table.
Thank you very much. The third question is, with FSD beta training data sets set to explode exponentially as software is released to a wider and wider audience, are there any early takeaways with regards to how quickly versions can iterate and be pushed out from bi-weekly to weekly or even daily?
At this point, it's not so much about how much data can we collect, but how quickly can we process the data we've collected. This is where Dojo comes in, as we mentioned on AI Day. With substantially faster training computer in Dojo, we will be able to iterate more often than we do now. If, for instance, say the net takes 1 day instead of 1 week, it makes a huge difference in our ability to push out more updates. But realistically, there's a whole lot more that comes into play when iterating software updates. The whole infrastructure from top to bottom, including testing and validation, needs to be set up for faster iteration. So daily updates are not really realistic for now.
Thank you very much. The next question is, can you provide an update on future model development and how much diversity in your fleet will be necessary to achieve 20 million in annual volumes? The best-selling cars in the world today only sell slightly over 1 million units. So is it possible to achieve 20 million units with just SX3Y truck and the $25,000 car?
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, as we've mentioned before, we've seen record growth in both Model 3 and Model Y segments, where Model 3 is currently the best-selling luxury sedan worldwide. And as we mentioned at our shareholders meeting, Model Y is poised to be the best-selling vehicle in the world. Tesla continues to break molds in these vehicle segments, and we hope to do so with each new product. As we've said publicly, we will eventually expand the vehicle lineup to get to larger volumes, and we believe that we will need to be in all major segments across small, mid-size, large sedans, SUVs, and trucks to do so, along with, of course, the massive space of robotaxi.
Thank you very much. The next question from retail shareholder is, what is Tesla's goal for vehicle production capacity for the 4 current factories, Fremont, Shanghai, Austin, and Berlin, by 2024?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Our goal as a company here is to grow on an average pace of 50% per year. And so you can extrapolate that out. There may be some periods of time in which we're well ahead of that. There could be some periods of time, despite best efforts, where we're slightly lower than that. But that remains the long-term goal of the company. In Fremont, we're continuing to push the boundaries of what's possible there. Over the last 12 months, we've done about 430,000 cars of production. And, based upon everything that we know in the factory, where the bottlenecks are, what the potential is, we're targeting to increase that another 50%. I think that will be a difficult goal, but that's the goal that the internal team has, and they're going to continue to push on that. As we look towards Shanghai, we're continuing to push the boundaries there, and we continue to ramp production there as well. So most recently, the ramp of the Model Y, which was our biggest contributor of volume in Q3, will continue to ramp that factory. And our plans there with time are to keep growing the capacity in that factory. Austin and Berlin are interesting factories because our first iterations of capacity there are on Model Y, but we've intentionally set these factories in locations in which they have a quite significant amount of land and ability to expand. And so, we'll take Model Y at these factories. We're trying to get to 5,000 cars a week as soon as we can, and then we'll continue to push beyond that. Potentially even getting to 10,000 cars per week at those factories. And then we'll add Cybertruck here in Austin and continue to grow from there. So, our goal is to get to millions of cars per year over the next couple of years, and then ultimately in the long term, be able to achieve 20 million cars per year. We're going to grow as quickly as is feasibly possible with an eye towards a 50% annual growth rate.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is, what is your view on the tightening regulatory environment for FSD in the investigation and broad data request by NHTSA? Some of the recent nominees to NHTSA have been publicly critical of FSD, including engaging with short sellers online. How will you manage this environment?
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, as we have been for years, we always engage with NHTSA and other worldwide regulatory bodies to share our knowledge and to work with them on our approaches on both active and passive safety. There are ongoing regulatory inquiries taking place all the time, and especially on the subjects like FSD that are at the cutting edge of technology development. During these investigations, my team, myself, are always cooperative as much as possible. We expect and embrace the scrutiny of these products and know that the truth about their performance and the innovations our products have will ultimately be all that matters. In the end, and as I've said on previous calls, we take safety as a top priority in all our designs. This is because our primary motivation is coming from a team of incredible engineers designing software and hardware that saves lives and prevents injuries. In doing so, we'll continue to be transparent to the public on how our technology is both developing from an autopilot safety data, the latest of which we just shared in the shareholder update. And you can also see and review a wide variety of customer post FSD videos on social media. Back to you.
Right.
Yeah, just to add to that, as Lars said, safety is extremely important for Tesla. It's the right thing to do. And if you look at various independent testing and regulatory testing of our products, you can see the work of the incredibly talented engineers and the results of those tests. And our goal in developing safety-oriented software around the car is to continue to go beyond what the hardware is able to provide. If you can prevent a crash from happening, that's the safest way to manage this. And I think at a macro level here, what we're seeing, and this is entirely understandable and expected, is that the automotive industry is going through a transition from the traditional car as we know it to more of a computer software-oriented sensor suites around them that can manage things beyond just what the driver manages. And regulatory bodies are understandably so, are interested in understanding how to regulate in this environment. And NHTSA is no exception to that. So as Lars mentioned here, I think this is a great thing. We're excited to partner, and we'll work collaboratively with all regulatory bodies who want to go on the journey to the transition to a software-oriented vehicle.
Thank you very much. The next question is, service remains an issue with appointments available weeks or even months out. Likewise, supercharger wait times have become untenable at some locations. What concrete steps is Tesla taking to improve the customer experience in these two key areas?
Yeah, I'll take the service part of this question. Drew, you can take the supercharging part. We have seen an increase in service wait times throughout the summer. And there's a couple of things that have contributed to that based upon the information that we have. The first is that, and I think this is kind of not unique to us, is that the return to some sense of normalcy in a post-pandemic world has happened, I think, more quickly than most people expected. And what we're seeing here is that the number of miles that people are driving has increased. There may have been some demand for service during 2020 or in the early parts of 2021 that customers put off. And so there's a bit of a catch-up that's occurring that has increased demand for service. At the same time, in the macro environment here, logistics, moving parts, sourcing parts has become increasingly more difficult, which is a well-known issue in the world right now, as well as challenges in the labor market. And so there's kind of this simultaneous increase in demand for service where the ability to supply that service has been impacted for the reasons I mentioned. And so, we saw an uptick primarily in Europe and North America in service wait times over the course of the summer. And we've been working extremely hard since then to address this. And we've seen our wait times come down. So this is not the case in every location, but if you think about it from regional average perspectives, we are seeing improvements there. We remain super focused on adding locations. And so over the last year, we've grown our physical footprint of service centers by 35%. We've grown our footprint of mobile repair by over 40%. We're also adding staffing as quickly as we can in the areas that are most impacted by the imbalance of supply and demand for service. But I think the most important part about all of this is, and we've said this on calls before, where the best service is no service. And so we have been incredibly focused as a company, both on the initial quality of our vehicles and reliability of our vehicles. And we've seen pretty substantial improvements in both of those metrics over the long term and over the last couple of quarters. So it is something that remains on our minds. We monitor this very closely, but hopefully that's a helpful explanation into the context and what we're doing.
Yeah, and on the supercharger side, the supercharging team monitors congestion and plans expansion to ensure customer experience with minimal wait times alongside the growth in our vehicle fleet. While we certainly have work to do in expanding capacity in some congested areas, average congestion on the network has decreased over the past 18 months. Nonetheless, we're not standing still. We are executing accelerating expansion plans globally. The network has doubled in the last 18 months, and we're planning to triple it over the next 2 years. And even so, on an individual site basis, to combat existing congestion more quickly where it is isolated and problematic, we expedite local relief sites, deploy mobile superchargers, and we try to introduce pricing strategies that encourage more off-peak usage to avoid the waiting.
Thank you very much.
And just one thing to add on supercharging. If you haven't experienced our latest iteration of battery packs that can handle fast charge rates in combination with our 250 kilowatt charging stations, is pretty incredible. And this is a really important component to supercharging capacity, because the faster you can charge, the more charge sessions that you can have on an individual post, the better the customer experience is as you're going on a long-term journey, because your supercharging times are lower.
Yeah.
So this is a really important part of the strategy. Supercharging team has done a great job rolling these out. But it requires a combination of both the 250 kilowatt charging and our latest iteration of battery packs.
And we've also maintained an ongoing roadmap on software improvements, dynamic routing to avoid busy superchargers. That's actually really helpful. We take the real-time busyness of the stations into account when choosing where to navigate people on their road trip. And beyond that, we're also continuing to improve the trip planner itself and how it estimates how much energy people use, so it's not too conservative and asking people to charge more than they need to, which is another thing that can delay a total trip.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is Tesla considering any other ideas other than FSD with real-world AI that can bring additional software revenue to Tesla? If not, can Tesla consider building interesting games around FSD beta?
Sure. At AI Day, we did talk about a potential future where Dojo could be used as a neural net training platform for other companies. It's not a focus of ours today, as we're fully subscribed on Dojo with our internal uses. We do expect to continue to improve the in-car experience in the context of FSD.
Great, thank you. And maybe last question from shareholders is, how has FSD take rate changed since the introduction of monthly subscription? Are there any plans to increase the FSD pricing as wider release becomes imminent?
I'll take the second part of the question first. We won't be providing any kind of forward-looking commentary on our pricing strategy or what may happen here over the near term. With respect to the first part of the question, this has been an interesting thing for us to unpack within the company. I mean, what I'll say just as a general statement before I make a couple specific comments is that the things that we learn on FSD subscription today are not necessarily all that relevant. This is really more of a platform for when FSD beta goes into wide release and the features and functionality become more accessible to more customers. The second thing that I'll note is that if you look at the pricing, the monthly pricing of FSD subscription, and then you compare that to the cost of either rolling FSD option into your lease or your loan, on a monthly basis, the most economical way for a customer to enjoy the features of full self-driving is through purchasing it up front and rolling it through their financing. And as a result of that, what we've seen in the data is we're unable to detect a change in the upfront take rate of FSD when people purchase cars. We have seen quite a bit of activity of folks curious to experience what the software has to offer and subscribing to it and enjoying it through that route. But again, as I said at the beginning, I think what we've seen so far on FSD subscription is not terribly relevant. We'll see how that plays out in the future as we continue to release more features.
Thank you very much. And now let's go to analyst questions. I just wanted to remind everyone to click on raise hand button if you want to ask a question. The next question comes from Pierre Ferragu from New Street Research. Pierre, feel free to unmute your mic and go ahead. Pierre, I think your mic is muted. Okay, while Pierre works on that, let's go to the next analyst. The next question comes from Joseph Spak from RBC. Joe, we cannot hear you. Can you click unmute? Okay. While the team is working on that, let's just go back to say.com questions. So the next say.com question is, can Tesla allow for FSD to be transferred to another vehicle at a fee, something less than 10K? Early adopters are paying the price if they want to upgrade their vehicle. You lose the value on the trade-in, and now you have to buy in at the higher cost.
I don't think that this is widely known, but we're already actually doing the sentiment of what this question is asking. If you trade in your Tesla to Tesla, there's a difference in price that we pay for a trade-in that has FSD compared to one that doesn't. And so there's that premium that we pay to repurchase the FSD. That money can then be applied towards the purchase of a new car. So I just, we hear this feedback quite a bit. We see it on social media, we see it in the forums, et cetera. And so this already does exist. Not directly in the form here, and we don't call it out explicitly in the trade-in, potentially that we have increased the price of your trade-in as a result. And hopefully this clears this up, because we do actually do that.
Okay. And the next question is, Elon said that we get an update on Cybertruck in November a year ago, but it hasn't happened, and we know there are a lot of updates. Will you show off the new and improved Cybertruck?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. We get a lot of questions on Cybertruck. We've been busy detailing the Cybertruck to achieve the prototype version we shared with customers a while back. As you may have seen recently on social media, we've built a number of alphas and are currently testing those to further mature the design. And while those point out a few key additions like rear steer, there are also a number of smaller or less visible improvements, though the product is largely true to the initial vision. We'll continue to work through the product in the beta stages that we're in now, and look to launch that late next year.
Okay, thank you very much. We just promoted Pierre to a presenter.
Yes.
Hear us?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Amazing. I'm very impressed that you managed to figure that out.
We are too.
Thank you, Pierre.
I would have panicked if. Anyway, let me ask you my question. I'm very intrigued by what you guys are doing on the insurance front. And so you have now in the market in Texas an insurance product for which the premium varies as a function of the safety score of the driver. And so I'd love to hear you about that. You must have some initial data points about market reaction, what's the uptake? And from there, can you tell us about how you think you're going to distribute that? Is that going to go through your install base very easily, or is it going to be like a heavy marketing push? And then maybe tell us about your expansion plans. What are the next geographies? What's the timing? How fast is that business line likely to grow in the next few years?
Yeah, thank you, Pierre. I'm extremely passionate about our insurance product. We have a terrific team here at Tesla of folks who have been spending a lot of time developing this. They're probably listening to the call, so we're pretty excited so far, Pierre. So, I mean, at the highest level here, we entered the insurance market kind of unintentionally, I would say. Our customers were coming to us complaining that the price of traditional insurance was too high, and it was reducing the affordability of a Tesla. And part of our journey here at Tesla is we want as many people as possible to be able to afford our products. That's extremely important to achieving the mission of the company. And if you look at the price of insurance as a percentage of what somebody's monthly payment is, it's quite high. And we spend extreme amounts of effort in manufacturing to take $5 of BOM cost out here or $10 out somewhere else. If we can get $5, $10, $20, $30 out on a monthly payment, you can calculate what that means in terms of reduction of the price of the car if you finance it. And the leverage of improving insurance cost is huge in terms of affordability. And so that's kind of the context by which we stepped into this. As we started to do more research, essentially the tools by which the insurance is traditionally calculated are optimized based upon the existing data, but the existing data is limited. So there's a focus on things like marital status or age or other attributes like that. Accident history is a good one, et cetera. But what essentially happens here is customers who are low risk and don't actually file many claims end up overpaying on their insurance relative to their cost. That overpayment then goes to riskier customers who are essentially being subsidized. And as we looked at this and we looked at the data, we thought this just doesn't seem like it's fair. At Tesla, because our cars are connected, because they are essentially computers on wheels, there's enormous amounts of data that we have available to us to be able to assess the attributes of a driver who's operating that car and whether those attributes correlate with safety. Because we do get a signal when a car has been in an accident. So we've been spending our time looking at hundreds of different variables and also looking at billions of miles of driving history. And we've been able to fit a model that is able to predict with decent accuracy the probability of collision over a period of time. And the model is not perfect, right? The model is a function of the data that we have available. That data set continues to grow. We continue to experiment with new variables, but we do have a model that works pretty well so far. And from that model, being able to predict frequency of collision, we can then align that against a price curve. And we can have individualized pricing integrated into the car, integrated into the app, integrated into that customer's experience with a feedback loop back to the customer on how they are driving after every drive, the attributes that they were successful on or unsuccessful on, and the tips of things that they can do to improve their safety. So that's what we've developed. We then included the safety score as a part of the FSD beta enrollment program, where we have almost 150,000 cars currently using the safety score, and I believe the latest data is over 100 million miles of driving. So we've been able to go back and analyze that data, and we've learned two things coming from that. The first is that the probability of collision for a customer using a safety score versus not is 30% lower. It's a pretty big difference. It means that the product is working and customers are responding to it. The second thing that we've looked at is what is the probability of collision based upon actual data as a function of a driver's safety score. And that is aligning with our models. Most notably, if you're in the top tier of safety compared to lower tiers, there's multiple X difference in probability of collision based upon actual data. So, this is a very new and very exciting frontier for us. I know that was long-winded, but we spent a lot of time on this and we put a lot of thought into it. Specifically with respect to the rollout, the insurance industry in the US is intensely regulated, and it's regulated on a state-by-state level. That means that we require regulatory approvals from each individual department of insurance at each individual state. Texas is the first state that we launched in. I do want to thank the Texas insurance regulators here. You've been great to work with. We have a roadmap of additional states. We will launch the product in those states as we receive regulatory approvals. And our goal is to be in every major market in which we have cars in. We did a soft launch in Texas, was it last week? Yeah. And what we're seeing in initial take rate data is that, if you compare that to what we're seeing in California, we're off to a good start here. So we're very excited about it. We're excited about individual risk-based pricing. We're excited about the ability for folks to become safer and as a result, save money. And it feeds into our priority of a company of building the safest products in the world.
Yeah, if I can add to that, just it's really exciting for the engineering team to see the finance team and taking on safety into their world too. It's just pervasive. So thanks for that, guys.
Thank you, Lars.
Thank you. Pierre, do you have a follow-up question?
No, I think I'm fine, Zach. Thanks for taking the time to answer. It's fascinating and very interesting. Yes, I look forward to looking into that.
Thank you very much. The next question comes from Joseph Spack from RBC.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. So Zach, as you noticed, or as you noted, you hit low teens operating margins. That was your medium-term target. You're there now, despite the number of challenges and not full utilization of some of the plans. So, how are you thinking about that target now? Does it allow you to either drive price down further to unlock more demand, invest in other initiatives, or does that target need to change? And in longer term, do you have an aspirational gross margin target as the mix of software and hardware changes?
Yeah, we've actually exceeded our long-term guidance on our operating margin target. So we're very pleased to see that. And as we look out over the next quarter and the next year, there's a number of puts and takes financially for the company. The launch of Austin and Berlin will have rampant efficiencies there for some period of time until we get those factories up and running. And so that's likely to put some downward pressure on our margins as those factories ramp. Our goals are to ramp those as quickly as possible. But as Drew mentioned earlier, there are a number of unknowns that we'll need to work through. We are kind of also in this uncertain environment with respect to cost structure. So we are seeing costs increase on the commodity side. We're getting feedback from our suppliers as we are seeing ourselves, the impact of labor shortage. And then logistics and expedite costs just continue to be a part of our story here. And it's uncertain how that will unfold. It's our hope that these things stabilize. Exactly when that happens is difficult to predict. And we have been adjusting pricing in line with those changes in cost. And so we'll see how that unfolds over the course of the next year. So it's difficult on gross margin to say where that will go, for those reasons. With respect to operating margin, we've been very focused as a company on managing our overhead expenses and operating expenses. And operating expenses as a percentage of revenue has been declining, and I expect that trend to continue to happen. And I think the net of all of this is hopefully that we continue to make progress on operating margin over the next 4 or 5 quarters. As we think kind of forward, the business up until this point has kind of largely been a hardware automotive business with a little bit of software on top of that. As full self-driving matures, as take rates increase, if we are to raise pricing on that, there's considerable upside both on gross margins and operating margin as that comes to light, as the business starts to become more of a mix of a hardware-based company and a software-based company. So, we feel optimistic about the journey, very optimistic about the journey as we look over into the long term. Just a little bit difficult over the next 4 to 5 quarters. We'll continue to update on earnings calls as we learn more information. There's just a lot of uncertainty in the world right now.
Thank you. Joe, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, the second question is just, you mentioned LFP packs globally for standard range models. My understanding is that all comes from China. Is that the continued go-forward plan, or do you want to develop LFP capabilities in other factories around the world?
Yeah, certainly our goal is to localize all key, parts of the vehicles on the continent, at least the continent, if not closer. to where the vehicles are produced. So that is our goal. We're working with internally and with our suppliers to accomplish that goal, and not just at the end assembly level, but as far upstream as possible.
Thank you very much. And the next question comes from Colin Langham from Wells Fargo. Colin, are you able to unmute? Okay, while we're waiting for that, let's go to the next one.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah. Sorry, yes, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, just actually kind of following up on the question before. You'd mentioned commodities are rising, and when I look at a lot of the key raw materials in the battery, cobalt, nickel, lithium, all up 40%. And I know you guys have, done a good job of getting long-term contracts to sort of mitigate that impact. I mean, have you seen so far any impact from that spike? And if not, I mean, any sense of when that raw material headwind might actually show up or has shown up?
Yeah, we have seen an impact. Our primary exposure right now is around nickel and aluminum, nickel in the cell, aluminum and non-cell. And, we have a mixture of contracts with various suppliers. Some materials we contract directly and we have full exposure to price fluctuations. We do have a number of long-term commitments, long-term contracts in place. We also have contracts where there's some amount of cost sharing based upon the movement of indexes. And so, as these have been moving, some of those costs have been flowing through to us. It's not a substantial amount of cost, but it's not small. As we look towards the next year, I certainly hope it doesn't play out this way, but it's possible that we continue to see more of cost headwind as a result of these movements. It's difficult to say precisely, but the volatility and the increases are just substantial. And there are certain suppliers that maybe up to a certain point have been absorbing some of the increase. And as contracts expire there, or we have to renew and extend them, we'll have to return to negotiations. And so, what we have to do as a company and what we are intensely focused on is we need to be continuing to drive down the cost of our products, which we have been doing. And we have to overcome cost increases that are outside of our control. So whether that's resourcing components or redesigning components or finding ways to be more efficient in manufacturing, we have no choice but to continue on that path and be even more aggressive in the light of the macroeconomics here.
And diversification, right? Doesn't need to be nickel or cobalt there's always another option.
Thank you. Colin, do you have a follow-up question? Okay, let's go to the next one. The next question comes from Colin Rusch from Oppenheimer.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Can you talk a little bit about your strategy around anode materials and your ability to leverage that into reduction on the cathode side and performance from the LFP?
Sure. I don't know that I'm going to get into too many specifics, but I guess first, one thing I would say is unlike the commodities discussion we just had, like the anode materials are not really in the same situation, just in terms of what their constituent components are. So there's less of a focus on like rapidly changing them one way or the other because they're generally stable commodities. There isn't exactly like a tit for tat where like get a better anode, use less cathode. Like there's a fundamental ratio that you need to maintain for the cell to function. So I guess zooming out, the primary focus on the anode side that we have is just ensuring that it doesn't in any way that we were able to continue to reduce the cost of the anode without impeding on the long-term cyclability of the product. It can also help with energy density. As you sort of improve the energy density of the anode, you improve the energy density of the cell, not directly one-to-one, because you have to pack more cathode in as the anode gets better. And that's a focus as well. But the trade space is just sort of cycling versus day one cost.
That's super helpful. And then just around the vehicle pricing strategy, obviously there's a lot of flexibility there for some customers and not. Can you just talk a little bit about the process around vehicle pricing and how quickly you expect to change that and adjust as you see some of these commodity prices flow through the cost structure and you look at the demand dynamics for vehicles?
Yeah, pricing has been a really difficult thing for us over the last couple of quarters. And where part of the challenge is, the great thing that we're seeing in the space right now is there appears to just be quite a profound awakening of the desirability for electric vehicles. And to be totally frank, it's caught us a little bit off guard. And that kind of awakening and change in consumer sentiment, I'm sure there's lots of reasons that go into it, but folks want to buy an electric car and folks want to buy a Tesla right now. It's very exciting for us. At the same time, we have installed capacity to build more cars, but we're constrained by a number of dynamics, as we've talked about in great detail. And we are putting in extreme effort to build as many cars as we possibly can. It's hard to overstate how extreme the efforts are. It's quite the grind. We're trying as hard as we can to maximize that capacity and to be able to meet the demand that we're receiving. But the net of all of this is that we're not able to increase production capacity fast enough. So, at the same time, we are seeing macroeconomic cost impacts on our structure, as we've discussed previously on the call. So we're trying to think through, if somebody orders a car now, it could be delivered in some cases, depending upon the car and which factory, could be a couple of months, could be a couple of quarters. And the timing in which we build that car will be just before that car gets delivered. And what will the world look like at that point? And so we're trying to think through how the cost structure is evolving. How does pricing need to change with that? What are the supply dynamics in the space? The other thing that I'll just note on pricing is that companies change pricing all the time. The difference is that when Tesla changes pricing, it's extremely transparent, where that's not always the case otherwise. And sometimes our pricing will increase, sometimes our pricing will reduce. Sometimes to the public, our pricing changes may not seem to make logical sense. But there is a strategy that we work behind the scenes as we're balancing supply and demand, as we're also trying to balance various shortages on parts, as we're trying to manage wait times. All of that goes into the optimization here.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is from Brian Johnson from Barclays. And Brian, please go ahead and you can unmute.
Tesla team?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, no, it's by the way, great to hear there's a team at Tesla, not just a one-person show. I want to drill down a bit more on FSD. In December of 2020, in a Business Insider interview in Germany, your leader said that he expected level 5 autonomy by December within a year, so that would be now. Yet, we look at the progress in FSD and some of the issues you see on YouTube, and it looks very much like a level 2+ system that requires vigilance, as in fact your disclaimers say. So I guess 3 questions. Kind of one, what is the timetable to get to level 4, at least capability? We can deal with the regulatory stuff later. 2, what is the criteria for Zach for you to release revenue, deferred revenue around FSD? And is having a level 2 system that needs monitoring enough to release that deferred revenue? And then 3, maybe you could talk a little bit more about how you plan to work with the new, with the folks at NHTSA who appear to be, asking some questions. They have 3 requests out to you regarding information around the level 2, around the capabilities of FSD.
Yeah, so I guess we'll take them in order. It's difficult to be specific on the timelines. The Autopilot team is working extremely hard, iterating on every version. We are being extremely transparent, through the release of this to public customers who are posting information online. So, when you're using full self-driving and you're going through the iterations, you can feel the progress. And for those who don't have it in their cars, social media is excellent at getting a sense for how that's progressing. And the team is moving quickly with every iteration, with every update, and they're working very hard on that. On your second question about the criteria to release deferred revenue, the way that this works is, we have made certain commitments as to what this product can offer at the time that a customer has purchased that. And so what we have to assess is, have we met those commitments, and is the software widely available to the folks that we've made those commitments to within a certain geography. And given that FSD is still currently in the beta phase, it's invitation only and it's limited, we have not deemed that to be appropriate for recognition of deferred revenue. And we'll continue to evolve this. We'll continue to monitor it within the finance team to see when we get to the milestones in which we're comfortable releasing. On the NHTSA question, Lars, do you want to take that?
Sure. I mean, as I said earlier, we always cooperate fully with NHTSA and other regulatory bodies in any sort of investigation they may have, particularly related to ADAS systems. When they came out with the standing general order in July, we were quick to respond to that, and one of the first and only companies capable of actually meeting the needs of that report. We continue to send that information to them as required, weekly and as incidents occur. And with the additional investigations, as I said, we meet that with great sincerity, and we'll work through them one by one to make sure that all the facts come out and that NHTSA is well informed about our strategies for both active safety in this case, but also passive safety. As you guys may know, we released updates to our airbag and restraint system last week to Model Y using our fleet data. We worked closely with NHTSA on that, and they were fully in the loop before we did it. So I think these kinds of things will continue to happen in the new regulatory space that Zach discussed as we move towards a software-based vehicle, and we're happy to be a part of that journey.
Thank you very much. And the next question comes from Trip Chowdhury.
Thank you. Very good quarter. I had 2 quick questions. First is regarding the 2 upcoming factories in Berlin and Austin. Who are the 2 factories different from each other? Maybe in the layout, design, assembly lines. And the second question is related to Cybertruck. Who is the supply looking at? If you look at the exoskeleton steel, is the supply for that material sufficient for immediate ramp up, say in 23, 24 time for Cybertruck? That's all for me.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, as we've noted in the past, we developed our own stainless steel grade for the exterior Cybertruck to meet both the durability and corrosive requirements required for an automotive world. With this raw material and others, as Drew mentioned, we continue to look at multiple sources. We have made some early sourcing decisions in that, but I think we'll keep that one internal, and we've already began the first cast ingots of that. rolling stainless isn't so different from rolling any other material. It's just about how hard the rollers are to get to that hardness level. And, just like every manufacturing process we put in for every new vehicle, we'll work with our suppliers and vendors to make sure those timelines and supply meet the need and demand of our customers.
And on the differences between Austin and Berlin, there are some. They're largely associated with the different sort of building architectural choices that were, happen to occur in collaboration with like local codes and other sort of governing requirements that drive the differences in the architecture between the locations. In general, though, like we're trying to progress the manufacturing system as a system and make sort of logical, like path-defined improvements from factory to factory. And in some cases, there was an improvement identified between like decisions for one Austin, the other Berlin, or vice versa. And so there might be a slightly newer iteration of one part of the factory in one place than the other, but it's all part of a path forward in the factory that builds the machine that builds the machine, sorry.
Thank you very much. And the last question comes from Jed Dorsheimer from Canaccord.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. So, Brandenburg, I'm just wondering, Zach, if you could estimate the carry cost from a margin perspective, or I guess in two parts. So, when do you still expect production coming on in 21? So, a couple months left in December, and how do you see that margin impact as a function of the carry cost? And I do have a follow-up question.
Sure. So it remains our target in both Austin and Berlin to be able to build our first production cars before the end of the year. We've talked about this a bit, the unknown unknowns, new factories, new vehicle designs, new technologies, new locations, new teams. So, there's quite an execution journey ahead of us, but that remains our target, and all of our plans are oriented around that. We should not expect for us to deliver cars by the end of 2021 from these factories, even if we do produce some. So, homologation, regulatory reasons. And we'll want to make sure that we build up some number of cars that we're confident in the quality and the customer experience around them. The second thing that I'll say, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks, is because of the newness here, it's extremely difficult for us to be precise in what the ramp will look like. And it's possible the stars align and things move quickly. It's possible that we're spending the bulk of next year working on ramping these factories. It's just very hard to say, and we'll continue to update you all through these calls and through other forums. As to how that then impacts our margins, that is also difficult because that is a function of the ramp, which is uncertain. So the benefit here, which is different in the ramp of these factories compared to other factories, is if you think about the percentage of our total cost structure in any given quarter that is associated with new ramps, we have the Fremont factory that's running, generating stable and growing margins there. The same is also true in Shanghai. So I expect we'll see some amount of headwind on margin from these ramps. It's just entirely dependent on how quickly we're able to ramp and what uncertainties come up during the process.
Sure. So on a margin per car, but I would suspect though, if your carry cost is full right now that as you start producing vehicles, it's going to be a margin lifter from where you're at right now. No?
I mean, we are carrying some amount of cost associated with the factories today. And so the incremental cost associated with turning the factories, it's not 100% of a factory, if that's what you're getting at in your question.
Yes. Yep, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, we also actually saw a very similar dynamic to this when we were launching Model S earlier in the year. So, you know, when a product starts launching, and then cost of goods sold starts to activate, depreciation starts to activate, you know, there's a bit of a movement in the P&L as to where that cost resides. So yes, I mean, to some extent, Brandenburg and Austin costs are already flowing through our P&L, but we still need to continue staffing and ramping and incurring all the operating costs associated with a factory that we're not spending right now.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone, for all your questions. And we'll see you again in 3 months. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Okay. We are unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that was interesting.
Some of it was interesting.
Some of it was interesting. Some of it was kind of making me kind of want to take a little nap. We did get our popcorn, though, so we're good. I don't know. So the whole safety score thing, what are you doing?
Increase a little.
No, don't increase it. It'll peak.
Okay.
Don't look at that. It'll peak there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we don't worry about that.
Anyways.
The safety score thing, I saw a lot of chat in that. I wanted to talk about that real quick. The reason why I don't think I would ever go with Tesla for insurance unless it was crazy cheap, like David said. One, because our insurance company we're currently with, we have a great bundle deal. Love that. We would lose that if we moved the cars elsewhere. Two, I have a problem with somebody tracking my driving because they don't get the full picture, they get a snapshot. Case in point, I'm gonna use your mother for this one because it just recently happened to her. If an insurance company is tracking your vehicle and there is a hard brake because a deer ran in front of your car or whatever, you braked, you avoided it, all is well.
Prevented an accident.
Wrong. It is not well. The insurance company goes, you hard braked. We're going to punish you for that. Same thing kind of with the safety score, to be 100% honest. And I don't want that because what they're getting is a snapshot. They have no idea, was that hard brake because you weren't paying attention or was it because you were avoiding an accident? Like, if anything, you should get bonus points for that.
Or like Chris mentioned earlier, maybe the light turned red.
Yeah.
And right now, you actually get a better score if you go through a red light than if you actually stop for a red light.
Exactly. So case in point, like that is why I will never have an insurance company be able to track my vehicle. That is why. I know I'm a good driver. I'm happy with how I drive, but there's a lot of flaws that come in that when someone tries to base how good of a driver you are from a number that they generate based off data that they have no idea how that data got there. They just know the data's there. They know you hard braked, but they have no idea why. So that is my pedestal argument. Abstract Ocean just said, but Tesla knows far more about the hard brake than dumb ODB gadgets. True. If they refined their safety score and added far more context, it could be good. Yeah, but I don't know, like, they would have to, like, look at the cameras based on hard braking to see what was the situation.
Yeah, like a deer or something like that.
Yeah, I just don't like it. That's why this whole safety score thing drives me absolutely nuts, because here I am, somebody that has purchased FSD so many times, we've spent so much money on it, was an early adopter, which we won't even get into the whole MCU one or anything issues that are going on right now. But with everything, it's like we haven't gotten it because I have been deemed unsafe at a 99 out of 100.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid.
But like you said, we've been around since Autopilot 1, Autopilot 2, Autopilot 2.5, Autopilot 3. Yep. And, you know, we had some of the first Autopilot 2 cars, some of the first Autopilot 3 cars. We bought it on, of the 13 vehicles we've bought a combination of either Autopilot or full self-driving on 12 of the 13 vehicles.
Yeah.
And we spent over $68,200, if anyone's counting, on full self-driving, and we still don't have the beta.
Yeah, so that's why I personally don't like it when companies try to score you based on that, because most of the time, I mean, even in Tesla's case, I'll say it right now, they don't know why I hard brake, they just know I did and they don't like it, or what have you. Like, there was a couple times where I got following too close, and it's because I was a good distance away from the car in front of me, but there was a car like right up to my right, and they like merged into my lane, and I took over because I didn't want to risk it. And since I took over, it wasn't an autopilot. I got dinged for traveling too closely. But it was like
another thing that we get a lot is the like aggressive turns or whatever. But where we live, to get on the highway, we've got clover leaf, and there's like no merge. It's basically exit and entrance on the clover leaf are right next to each other, and you have to get up to speed, or else you're a danger.
Yeah.
You know. So again, they're saying, oh, you're going too fast and turning too fast. That's being safe by getting up to speed, because you have to be at the highway speed of 65 miles an hour. You don't want to be at 20 miles an hour, or then you're going to be a hazard. So it's just not a good scoring mechanism currently.
Yeah. But that is how we feel about it. Real quick, I know some people wanted to see the dog cam. I don't have it set up though for the dog cam to still have the computer audio. Maybe I'll set that up later. But you can. Well, that's dog butt for you. So, and she's doing downward dog now, so she's stretching.
What timing? Yeah.
Great timing. Well, sorry about that, everybody. But yeah.
There she goes. She's going back.
What else was there? Oh, she's gonna go cuddle with Mr. Kit.
Yeah.
She's like, move.
Yeah.
Move.
I'm gonna use you as a pillow. But yeah, what are some of the other things?
That's okay. Some of the other things, we heard a little bit about the Cybertruck. While I don't know how happy Elon will be with what was said, it was said he did confirm the rear steering. Elon didn't, I don't think, address that on Twitter. He just talked about the removable mirrors.
He tweeted a while back because people were bragging about like Rivian or something, and
but
he tweeted that Cybertruck will have it too.
But there's one thing between like tweeting it, seeing it, but like when he tweets stuff, like I kind of take it with a grain of salt because, the whole 2 weeks thing. But we got confirmation, rear wheel turning, so that's great to see. What else was there? I don't know. We didn't really learn that much, to be honest. We learned Elon wasn't on the call, kind of figured that out.
Yeah. So Tesla Talk just asked, since we do change cars so often, are we going to do the subscription going forward?
Yes.
Most likely, yeah.
So on the Plaid, I did not purchase FSD because I, one, didn't know how long I was going to keep it, and two, since I switch over so often, it just doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to me to pay that $200 a month and lose it.
Or not subscribe at all.
Or not subscribe at all. Rather than pay the $10K, because I know I'm not getting anywhere close to that $10K back. So I don't even bother.
And we do have full self-driving totally on the S100G, so that's already paid for.
But that goes into the whole other case where older cars that did pay for this in 2017 still don't have access to FSD beta. None of them have gotten it.
That's what it looks like, is that older cars that had originally like MCU1 and maybe Autopilot 2 haven't gotten the FSD beta. Maybe they need to...
Even if, like in our case, we have the new MCU, we have FSD computer. I've seen several people with those combinations with 100 scores that aren't getting it.
And we went ahead and upgraded our side repeater cameras, so they have the same Autopilot 2.5 hardware. So is it just something like a software issue where they need to tweak something and then they'll release it eventually? Because they're still charging people. Somebody I just read today, they're still charging you. If you want, you can upgrade and add the full self-driving package. So if they're still charging it, they should bring it out for those cars.
Yeah. I mean, we heard the question about the 4680s, and they said maybe early next year. I don't know. I guess that'll TBD. We'll have to see about that. I still think early next year might be.
I think they would do it with the Cybertruck, because it's like, it doesn't make sense, I don't think, to like start up Y production at the Gigafactory in Texas, and then in 3 months switch them over to a totally different castings and a structural pack and 4680 cells. Seems like if you're going to do that, you're going to want to start with that, and so I would start with a new car like the Cybertruck that's not in production yet, or the Roadster.
Yeah. So I'm just mathing this out real quick. That question had $26 billion behind it.
Oh, for which question was that?
For the 4680 cell, it had 30.7 million Tesla shares represented under that, out of the 5,100 upvotes it got. So that's $26 billion worth. That's a lot. But I don't know. I guess like this call was a little bit more low key. Didn't really learn too much. Maybe just enough to get some people in trouble, and that's about it.
Yeah.
His computer was going off the whole time. That was not our computer.
Somebody needs to mute their.
That was there on their end.
It's kind of like we saw last week when Martin's phone kept going off.
Well, that was because I was texting Martin. I was like, "Hey, bud, what's up? I see you on TV. Congrats, you're doing good.
Do not disturb. Do not disturb."
But Martin did get back with me that evening, so we're still buddy. But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys in chat? What was your favorite part about this? Is there something I completely missed?
Did we learn anything like cool or new? I don't think there was any major, I was hoping, we didn't hear anything about the Semi. I don't think they said anything about the Model X other than in the deck it said
they started
deliveries have started, but yeah, there was no news on that. So.
And that deliveries will be ramping up, but it's like, of course.
We knew that.
But I would have liked maybe a little bit more concrete timeline. Or like what they're hoping to do, because are they just going to be doing 5 a week, or like what is the goal?
I just can't believe there wasn't any.
Oh, FSD transfer.
I just
that was the other thing I was going to
about the Semi though, because that's supposed to be happening this quarter, and we've seen evidence of them building the mega charger. So
I think in the annual they said it's next year.
I thought it was supposed to be, there was something that came out several months back that said they were going to be ramping, like starting them and then ramping them up.
I think in the annual they said they pushed it. So yeah, my reaction to the FSD transfer. Okay, here we go.
That was a weird answer.
One, I don't think he fully understood the question. And I will say this, having gotten trade-in quotes, having traded in cars to Tesla, having sold a bunch private party, I don't see how they're valuing it, because I don't see that in the numbers I get. And I have done FSD cars and cars without FSD.
Because the one that we probably got the best trade-in value on was the car that we didn't even buy FSD on.
Yeah, the SR Plus.
Yeah, that we bought.
The cheapest one.
And we got almost exact same price we bought it for.
Yeah.
But
now, I will say this, because I don't want to offend anybody, and it's when I start something with that, it's going to probably offend somebody. As a Tesla owner, I would love to have it transfer. Yes, please. That would make me so happy. As an investor, as a business owner, I understand why. I'll say that. So I can see it from both sides.
Yeah.
But I have trouble jumping on one side or the other.
Yeah.
I just wish maybe they would give it to you one transfer at half price even.
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't have to be totally free, or just save some money, because it's obviously this is a loyal customer.
You know what? Even if it was $1,000 off, that would have convinced me to do it.
And other car manufacturers offer this their loyalty bonus. Like if you have a Ford and you buy another Ford, then you get a special discount. Nothing like that with Teslas, and especially if you have spent $10,000 on software that, especially for some people that buy a car, it might get totaled. Yeah. And then you just lose it, and you're like, I didn't get even to use it at all.
Yeah. So kind of like Chris is saying, they know their answer is flawed, of course, but it is a huge revenue source. They're equally a software company, and that's what a lot of people might have a hard time grasping.
The only thing is that they're overpricing it by putting it at $10,000. I don't think they can keep raising the price. It's good that they finally came out with the subscription, but even then, I think a lot of people aren't going to pay for it. And I liked in the past when they had the enhanced autopilot as a separate package from full self-driving, because then I think you got a better value for your money.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're not offering that in the United States. They still offer it in some other countries, but not in the U.S.
Yeah.
In North America.
Keith said, why buy FSD at point of sale, then you pay additional registration costs? Agreed. But I know some people just like to roll it into their loan, because otherwise $10K, if you put that on your credit card and you're not paying it off immediately, you're going to pay a ton of interest.
Yeah.
But if you do pay it off immediately, that's $10K that you could do a lot more with. So the way I kind of look at it, and what I've started doing, is I've been financing as much of my cars as possible, because what I can do with that cash in the bank totally will do any registration cost, any finance charge, because interest rates are so low. What I can do investing that and playing around with that money is way more than if I give it up front, I'm going to lose everything.
So going forward, I don't think we're ever going to pay full price for full self-driving again, because again, we don't keep the cars long enough.
Yeah.
For cars that have already bought it, we have it. But going forward, if we only keep a car for 2 or 3 years, it's cheaper to just do the subscription, or even to just not have the subscription. Especially now, we haven't done a lot of road trips and stuff like that, and I work from home, so it's it would have been a waste of money on the long range that's coming out. It doesn't make sense to really put it on there. We might test it out You know?
I mean, the thing is though, like for me, it kind of makes a little bit more sense because it's a business expense when you really think about it for YouTube. But for most people, like if I go on 2 to 3 road trips a year, say I buy it 3 times a year, that's $600 a year. For you to get back that 10,000 other that you would have spent, like, what, 15 plus years?
Yeah, and
that's a lot.
And we know that like the free version of autopilot, it's okay. I mean, it's good enough that I don't see myself needing to pay $200 a month just to do the auto lane change.
Yeah.
I mean, it's annoying having to re-enable autopilot, and I love auto lane change on the S100D, but I mean, $200 a month just to have auto lane change is a lot.
It is. But yeah, I guess the FSD transfer thing, that was the other big thing that I was kind of like,
answer.
Yeah, I would love to talk to them more about that because I don't think he fully understood what was going on. But anywho.
Yeah, but again, we haven't really seen it on the cars that we've traded in or got trade-in offers for. We ended up selling them privately, got more money that way, or went through Vroom or something like that. But yeah, haven't seen that on our trade-in offers, because if that was the case, then you would expect Tesla's trade-in offers to be more than others, I would think.
Definitely.
Unless all the companies are valuing full self-driving, they're all in it. They all know to value it appropriately.
Anyway, that's basically it for this one. I think we'll go ahead and call it there. Thanks everyone for hanging out. It was a good time. Thank you all for the super chats. Definitely not necessary, but always appreciated. You guys really killed it, and thanks for kind of hanging out and chatting with us during the live stream. That was kind of fun.
And
there's a lot of funny comments.
And congrats to Dan for switching over to a 6-seater Model X.
Hopefully
he'll be getting an official delivery date soon. Maybe we'll be seeing him up there at the service center one of these days.
Yep. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and talk to you guys. We should be live this weekend. Probably Sunday.
Probably Sunday, yeah.
Probably Sunday. So we'll see you guys then. But definitely check out our channel sponsor, Abstract Ocean. If you haven't already, they're linked down below. And using code Tesla Inventory will get you 15% off of your first purchase. Did the whole thing without the light on. Great. They have all kinds of really cool accessories and useful accessories for Model S, X3, and Y, and a lot of cool stuff coming soon. So huge thanks to them. But that's basically it. We will see you all
Sunday.
Sunday. Bye.